Just look at this beautiful fly zipper insertion. It's also super beautiful on the inside. It's very neat, typical for jeans, but this can work for other types of trousers or skirts. This is one of the easiest jean zipper flies you can set in, and I'm taking you through step by step. You can achieve something beautiful like this as well. Hi sewing friends, I'm Karina from liftingpinsandneedles.com. Welcome to this channel that is all about sewing, limitless sewing, and to put you in context of why I'm sharing a zipper tutorial for you, specifically in the context of jeans. It's all got to do with a pattern that is going to be released super soon at Love Notions. It's a jean pattern called Legato, and the pattern's been thoroughly tested and I've been enjoying all the process, and it's just been really nice to sew up another pair of jeans. These are not my first pair of jeans. I've made so many jeans. I've used a lot of different brands and patterns. When you start using different brands and you are exposed to different techniques, you can start becoming really familiar with all the differences, but also you start to see all the similarities. And you know, the classic 5-pocket jean is very similar when you look at them. It's just different ways to put them together, sometimes in a different order. Maybe some techniques can change a little bit, the seam allowances, shapes of pockets and whatnot. But in essence, they are pretty similar. There are basically two general ways to do the fly zipper insertion on jeans. One for sure is more complex and lengthier than the other. The other one is definitely much easier. How did I start sewing jeans? Using the harder one. The technique that I think involves more steps and more pattern pieces is the one that I learned first years ago. Like I was making my son little shorts with these fly zipper insertions like that years ago, and I thought, yeah, it's fine. I've sort of perfected it. I sort of know the steps. I know how it goes. And you will see this technique when you have front pattern pieces for the jeans that are just straight up and down on the front crotch curve. Then you would have one extra facing that you cut out, and then you have your zipper shield. So to put all that together, it takes a few steps extra. I have already a couple of videos showing you that technique in detail, and you can get awesome results. One of those videos is up there, one of my most views on the channel, and I love the technique. I think it's awesome. I also think it's harder to do than the one I'm going to show you now. So what did I do when I was exposed to this other new technique? I sort of stopped sewing them in the way that I was sewing them before, and I've just adopted this one from now on, regardless if the pattern has it or not, because there's a way that you can adapt the pattern front piece to have this sort of shape. But I will insert that at the very end. I decided to create this video that is actually for jeans. It's got all the details that you need to put a fly zipper in super easy on jeans. And this can work for any pattern, but it can also work for the Legato jeans that are going to be released in a few days. This is the way I'm sewing my zippers. They turn out amazing. With this type of technique on the front pattern piece of the leg, you will see that there is an extension there already on the pattern piece. The facing is already on there, so you'll have that outward curve there already on the pattern piece. That is the way that this technique becomes so much easier than the other one. If you just want to have a peek and you're curious as to why I'm saying it's harder, go ahead and watch my other videos. It's not that it's hard, but there's just more steps to it. Whereas this one is just so easy. Don't think zippers are hard. They're just a whole bunch of straight seams. There's no tricky bits there. You know, it's just a whole bunch of straight seams done in a certain order. And then you get to a zipper on your jeans that looks amazing. One thing I have to point out is that this is not a centered zipper insertion. So the teeth of your zipper are not going to be in the center of your jeans. They're going to be offset to the side, to the left, usually. So just keep that in mind. This is not supposed to be in the center. And I repeat that as we go along. And there's a few critical steps that I repeat also as we go along. I had this example to show you. This is the left wearer's side. That's where we have the double row of top stitching right there. We have a few bar tacks. And you can see that when you open this up, the zipper is in there. It's in there. So it's offset to the left. It's not right here in the center. So what you would never want is to have the fold of your jeans right there and the zipper poking out like that. When you wear it, then it would gape and you would see the zipper. With this technique, you should never see your zipper. It's really, really tucked in there. I could have used a red zipper and no one would know if it's done correctly. So that is one point. At the back here, you see one facing and you see another facing. So these are the pieces that are already on the pattern piece that you don't have to sew on. because they're already there. And what you see on the top here is the shield that covers the zipper. So when you have your abdomen right there, you get nice smooth fabric and the metal from the teeth are never touching you. So this is the expected result. Let's hop into the sewing. I hope you enjoy it and I hope it's useful so that you can sew on your zippers for any jean you make, and also for the upcoming Legato jeans. This is the way I've sewn mine and they've turned out really good. On the tutorial, you are going to see my final pair, which is a greyish denim. It's time to sew the zipper. It's really approachable if you just follow the same steps. On the pattern, you're going to find the crotch curve and then you're going to find the extension. And this is like an integrated facing. It makes it easier to do. You'll see a dot and I've marked it with red right there. You'll see that dot on the pattern. So this is a 7-inch zipper. If you measure from the middle wear to the middle wear over here, I'm just starting on 20, but you know, from 20 to 27. And I think you'll be okay. If it ends up being too long, you can always take away teeth from the top. I sort of sometimes prefer that the zipper was longer, but it's not longer in this case. It's just exactly right. So I think this is the longest zipper you would need. What we need to do is serge these edges right here. Now up here, there's a little curve. Just have to be really careful. So we're going to get these edges cleaned up first, and then we can sew this. Okay, so one turned out a little better than the other. It's impossible to get perfection here in this angle, but we don't worry about too much because we can do some hand finishing, and on one of these sides we're gonna do a little snip. What I've got in my thread here is the woolly nylon. I've got 2 of those and 1 regular thread, so I have 3 here. And I want the woolly nylon just to make it fluffier and for it to cover more of this raw edge that I wasn't able to clean up properly. So I'm basically just doing a type of blanket stitch. I'm coming in through the back, then catching that loop, and I'm not pulling it super tight, and then I'm just doing that over and over and over pretty close together here so that I can cover this raw edge right here. On the left wearer's side, you won't need to do any snip. It's only on the right wearer's side that you need to do a snip so that both of these crotch seams can go in the same direction. You know, no one's gonna know I've got partial hand finishing, but for me it's really important to finish this area somehow because you never want to leave raw areas anyway. So that's how it's looking. That part is the serged part, and here's where I'm doing it by hand. So I'll just continue and finish this edge right here. Okay, here we have them both right sides together. The edges serged and cleaned up by hand. Here, as you can see, it's still as effective, you know, not as beautiful as a serger, but effective. On the other side, I have this little area to fix, but I'm not going to do that yet because I need to snip into there. So when I snip, I'm going to have to finish that anyway by hand. So this side, I'm just going to leave it. What we're going to do now is sew with a basting stitch, a long stitch length up to this dot right there. Then right there, I'm going to change it to a short stitch length, then back tack, reinforce, and then keep going with a regular stitch length up to this area right there. I'm starting with a 5.0 stitch length in this area. I suggest you draw your seam allowance, you know exactly where you're sewing because this area is hard to eyeball. So I have it here with a friction pen. Here is the red dot. Okay, there. Now I'm going to reduce the stitch length to a normal one and reinforce. And then I'll keep going here. When we look at the pants with the fabric wrong sides up, it is exactly the same as we're going to wear it. So if I took this and put it on myself, this is the left wearer's side, this is the right wearer's side, this is my left hand, that's my right hand. I'm going to put left and right here on the screen so you can always see. And then you need to open this up. I'm going to write here a left and a right too, so it's easy to know. We need both seam allowances to go to the left this way. So the only way to do that, because we have it like this, is to snip into the right extension right here up to there, and then both seam allowances can go this side. I'm just going to take that snip. Then when we snip under there, then both seam allowances can go to the same side. I do not want to leave this area just like it is, raw like that. So I've got my thread and I'm going to do that same type of blanket stitch here and there. tidy up as much as I can. Okay, so there is my snipped hand finished with Serge thread, and I'm happy. You know, it's not the prettiest thing, no one's gonna see it, but I know down the line this area is gonna be safe and it's not gonna start unraveling. So let's open this back up. As we mentioned, we're gonna push both of these seam allowances of the crotch curve towards the left hand here. So I'm gonna put a pin here so I remember. Now when we flip this to the right side, the seam allowance is gonna go this way. So we're gonna sew the crotch curve and also catching the center front here. Further up, I can feel the extensions, those facings, so I'm going to put a pin here just to make sure they stay extended and that this right side doesn't come over this side, because it's just this section that needs to be on this side right there. I'm also going to put a pin right here where that crotch curve starts, just to help everything along. Now I'm going to edge stitch, and I'm going to use my top stitching thread that I've been using the whole time, and I'm going to use my blind hem presser foot with the needle to the left for that. Just makes it so much easier. So there is my presser foot right there, and I'm going to start down here at the crotch curve and going up. Touch and make sure your facings are extended here. When you don't see me back tack at the start and at the beginning, just know that I am knotting by hand everything. I think top stitching thread is really bulky. Even if it's not going to be seen, it's just bulky, and I just don't like back tacking if I don't have to. So here at the bottom of the crotch, I'm also just going to hand knot it. When you look down, the left wearer side is actually on the right hand. Right here, this is my right hand. But when you flip it and you put it on your body, this is going to be on the left right here. So let's just write another L just so we always know. This is where we're going to do the top stitching like that later on. And all the seam allowance is coming this way. You can see coming this way here up to that snip. And then where the facings are, it's extended. Now we're just going to put the pants wrong sides up, like you can see it here. Here we have that seam that is basted. So from the seam towards the left extension, here is the L. I'm going to draw a line that's 1/4 inch from the seam, and I'm going to draw it with my friction pen. Okay, it's blue. I hope you can see it. I can see it. Let me show you up closer. So there is a blue line that is 1/4 inch from the seam this way towards the left extension. Remember I had a red dot here? There is that red dot. That's where I switched my stitch length. So from that dot above, I have the long stitch length, and that basically means I'm going to be removing this later on. And from the dot down, I have the regular stitch length. So I want to know where that dot is here. So I'm going to poke a pin through it. I know that dot is at this level where my pin is poking through. So I'm just going to do a little line here. Now we're going to take our zipper, first time we get our zipper, and we're going to place the zipper right sides together with this. So that means that the paw is going to be touching the fabric, so we flip it like this. So what we need to do is take all of this leg out of the way so that we just have our extension here. So there's nothing else here, you are only catching this to the extension. Okay, so before we pin this onto this area, I need to make sure that that zipper stop is matching that line that I drew right there. So I'm just going to align it here and then match the zipper tape to that line I had drawn. That's 1/4 inch away. But making sure my stop is at the correct level right there. Now I can put a pin here, and I'm going to keep working the tape up following that line that is 1/4 inch away from the seam all the way up to the top. You can see that on the top you're going to have some excess. You do need that for the seam allowance to attach on the waistband later. So this metal shouldn't reach all the way up to the raw edge. And here you can see the edge of the zipper tape is matching that blue line here. That is 1/4 inch away from that seam. You can see it really clearly there. And it goes all the way down really nice and straight. So now we're going to take out zipper presser foot and sew this from the top all the way down to the bottom, close to the zipper teeth, but not right on top, you know. So this is the presser foot. With this one, you can either clip it onto there or there, depends on what side you're sewing. I'm going to clip it onto this section on the left because I want to get in close like that. Another thing I can do here to get it closer to the zipper teeth is to move the needle to the left. So it moves to the left and you'll get a little bit closer even with using the same presser foot. So I'm going to start all the way from the top and go all the way down to the bottom. So I'm going to keep the edge of the zipper presser foot against the edge of the teeth. I'm not going to go over the teeth with my presser foot. You always want to keep the presser foot on top of the zipper tape and the fabric. For the next step, I'm going to switch my thread to the top stitching thread because we're going to do some top stitching here. The thing about these jeans, I'm swapping the thread all the time. Okay, so there we have that sewn. What we're going to do now is flip this like that. So we're still working with the extension. We still have both legs right here together all the way this way out of the way. And what we're going to do now is top stitch along this edge here, right there. And we're going to keep using the same zipper presser foot. It's just that I've changed to my top stitching thread here. I'm going to keep my zipper presser foot, but I'm going to change it to the other side now, because that's how I'm going to get the access. The needle needs to be in the centered position to sew here. If you move it to the left, it'll crash on your presser foot. So make sure you move it back. So basically what I'm doing is I have this edge of the zipper presser foot right on top of that fold that you see there. And the needle's a little further that way, and that's how we're going to edge stitch. Okay, there you can see the top stitching. It's really, really neat. Very nice. Now we can move to the next step. Okay, so I've extended both legs open again. We have it wrong sides up, of course. This is what we've just done. We've sewn the zipper tape to the right extension, sewn it close to the zipper teeth, then we flipped it, and then we've top stitched there. Let's look at this for a second. You can see that the zipper wants to go over to the left on its own. So what you don't want is to sew your other zipper tape like this, keeping this in a centered position. You don't want this zipper teeth to meet the seam that goes to the crotch right here. That would be an incorrect way of sewing this. This is not a centered zipper technique, so you need to move this over, and it's going to move on its own, and it's going to lie super flat. But you can see how this is like this, and it's just going to want to come over here while keeping everything under here flat like this. So that is the next step. We've got it in the right position. You're still going to have some of the fly extension left here, but it looks narrower than it looks here on the right side. So let's put a pin here. Now I'm catching only the tape with the extension. I'm not catching the legs. Now let's move the legs towards the other side so that they're right sides together. And now this is where we need to sew our zipper tape to our left extension. So I'm going to flip this to the other side and do it this way because that's how I'm going to have better access. And I'm going to sew from here all the way down, close to the zipper teeth, the same as I did on this other side, but I'm going to do 2 parallel rows here just to secure it. So I've changed back to my regular thread. I'm going to change the presser foot to the other side again and move the needle to the left and sew this first row here. And then I'm going to sew another one. I'm going to keep this edge of the presser foot and against the edge of the seam that I've just done. So there you can see the 2 rows of stitching. You can see them better from this other side because the other side is gray. And you can see this has been fixed in place. Okay, so that's how that looks. Now we're going to flip the pants so that we have the right size of the fabric up. And we're almost done, believe it or not. The zipper is underneath right here. I can feel it. I can feel the stop is around there. This is the left side, the wearer's side, but when you look down with the fabric right sides up, it looks like it's on your right hand right here. But there's the L. And now I'm going to just feel where the teeth are and just measure. I know I like to sew my first row at about 1 1/4 inches. So I'm going to make a mark right there. It's a little away from the teeth. I'm not going to be catching the zipper teeth when I do this. I'm just going to make my lines here. Remember, this chalk looks really white. It makes a huge mark. But then when I put the heat on it, it just vanishes completely. Now what I have to feel here is that zipper stop. I can feel it. It's right there. I'm going to mark it. I want to sew my curve slightly below that so I don't end up hitting it with my needle. So I'm going to eyeball this curve. So that's where I'm going to do the first curve and catch all of this. That's where the zipper stop is. I know it is. I marked it. So I'm going to be careful not to just do the curve shallower and hit it and break my needle. And I'll be using the top stitching thread for this step. I have that pull, but it's not bothering me because it's a little further away this way. It's not right there on the edge. So I don't need to pull it down out of the way or open this up yet. It's all good like this. And now we're going to top stitch. Here where you have the curve, just take it slowly. Here I'm actually going to lift my foot and just move the fabric manually to get a smoother curve. There, and there I back tacked a little. So that is the first curve done. Now when I sew the second row, I am going to be catching still part of the facing that's underneath. So it's not like I'm sewing onto nothing right here. To sew the second row, I'm going to use my presser foot as a guide, and then this edge of the presser foot is going to go against the edge of the seam that I've done, that first curve. That's how I'm going to get a separation of about 1/4 inch between these rows. Going to be consistent with everywhere else. See, the edge right here against the seam. Now on the curve, just take it slowly. That's where I'm going to lift and move it manually. Okay, so the iron is pretty magical, got rid of all the mark. This is the left wear side, but because we have the fabric right sides up, it looks like it's on our right hand right here. It's so nice, love it. Nothing technical or impressive that I've done. I've just drawn my line and then just find something to reference your sewing, like the edge of the presser foot, and you'll get a really nice, neat 2 rows right there, all the way down to the curve. Now what we need to do is open this up. Remember, we had a section here that just had a basting stitch. So just above where we've done this, a little further up here, I'm going to just start opening this up. And I used a 5.0 stitch length. You know, it's going to be pretty easy for this to just open up, and then we can see our zipper installation. Okay, and now that we've got this out of the way, we can see our zipper. You can see from the fold, the zipper is away in there. That is how it's supposed to be. When you wear your pants, you know, you're going to have tension here, and it's not going to gape, it's not going to open up. You'll never see the zipper. I could have sewn in a red zipper and no one would ever know. If it's well installed, you'll never know what color zipper you have. Only it's nice to match it, you know. So that's nice. Remember, from here down, here's the zipper stop. From here down, we have a short stitch length, so that's already been reinforced around this area. So this is not going to start opening up and coming apart, because we did that reinforcement there. And we opened up only where we had the basting stitch right there, which was sort of where the zipper stop is, and that's where it is. I can touch it, so I know I'm in the correct spot. If you make a mistake with this and have the zipper stop too high up from that point, and then you start unsewing from here up, you might have a section that comes undone that was done with a basting stitch instead. So just make sure your zipper stop is right at that mark there, so that you have actually reinforced stitches from the zipper stop down. And that when you unstitch this area, it's going to be just the basting stitch. So, let's see, open it. Very nice. Looks very nice. We still have a step to do. So what we need to do now is take our zipper shield. It's got this shape at the bottom. Just fold it right sides together here. And you can finish this edge with the sewing machine or the serger. I'm just going to stitch it with the sewing machine. So I'm just going to sew this with 1/4 inch seam allowance at the bottom. And then we're going to flip this like this. We're going to flip it and just align these raw edges. I'm just going to put a pin here, and I'm going to show you 2 options now. So we're going to get our pants back, wrong sides up. Under here, you can still see the right side that I drawn previously. On the right side here is where the shield is going to go. Now, there's 2 options. You need to center this over the zipper tape right there. So just calculate the middle there and place it along there. I have a raw edge here. So one option would be for you to pin this right here with the edge raw. Pin it down all the way to the bottom here. And now return to the serger and attach the shield to this facing with the serger. You're going to be trimming some of this excess away, and that's fine. And that's how you would attach this and at the same time finish it. I don't want to do that, but you can. It's definitely an official way to do it. But I think it could just turn out really bulky on the serger right here. So I want to leave my extension as it is. I don't want to trim it away. I don't want to do that. So what I'm going to do instead is just go to the serger and finish my edge of the zipper shield with the serger. Just finish it there. And then I'm going to come over here and place it away from the edge about 1/4 inch. And that results in this covering the whole zipper tape right there. So then what I'm going to do is just sew it with a sewing machine close to the edge, and that'll hold them in place. And I'll be happier. There's no amount of bulk in the same place right there. It's just a matter of preference and the way this is going to feel inside. And I prefer to have that excess and then the serged edge and the stitching, rather than having 3 full layers all done with a serger in one place. I think it could feel bulkier. I mean, that's at least how I feel it. So I'm just going to get this edge serged, And then I'm going to pin it here and sew it down. Now at the bottom, I don't want to just snip this Serge thread here. I want to keep it tidier so it doesn't unravel over time. So with my seam rip, I'm going to find the regular thread in here and then just pull that out, and then I can just separate the 4 threads, and then I can knot these, you know, the woolly nylon and the regular thread, and that's how you can finish this edge. It won't go anywhere, it won't come undone, and it's easier than threading that tail and then pushing it back in. I find this way just much easier and it's just as neat. So now that that's done, I'm going to align this to the top. Make sure this folded edge is reaching that edge there of the tape right here, or centered over that zipper. I can use my regular presser foot for this because I'm nowhere near the zipper here, and I'm just going to sew it on the edge. Okay, so the zipper shield is sewn onto the facing right there. I didn't trim mine away or serge them all together. That is my decision. I think it just is going to feel nicer here. But that's just what I think. You can definitely serge everything together and trim that a little bit away there to hold all this together. The important thing is that the shield is going to cover all this metal business and the zipper business, and this is actually never going to touch your abdomen, which is right here, your skin. It'll be the nice smooth fabric right there. Now we need to do some bar tacks, so we're going to flip it back to the right side of the fabric up. And I really despise doing bar tacks, let me tell you. I just really despise them, but I think they are necessary to hold that zipper shield in place here and not have it be flipping around inside. I'm gonna do one here around there on that straight edge. I'm gonna do them small and discreet. I just want them to serve their purpose. I don't think they're decorative or pretty. And then I'm gonna do one around here or around there, just to hold this down. I'm going to use the top stitching thread again. My machine doesn't have a bar tack automatic function, so I'm just going to use zigzag. I'm just going to put my zigzag one on my machine. It's 7. It's going to be something else on yours. The width, I want it to be 2.5. So that's the width of the bar tack. And then for the stitch length, because I want it to be really compact and dense, I'm going to use 0.5 I think is okay. So those are my settings. You can try them, practice it on a scrap. I have already tested this and I know this works. So on this inner edge here towards the bottom, but where it's still straight and not the curve yet, I'm going to make sure my bar tack is like centered over that seam and just go for it. And it's only going to be a few stitches. I'm not going to make them super long. Okay, tiny bar tack. It's not huge, but it's enough. And then the other one is gonna be right there around this flat edge here before the curve also. So on the wrong side, you can see the bar tack there and the bar tack there, and that's gonna help keep that in place. It's not gonna be flipping around anywhere when you wear your jeans, and that was the goal of those bar tacks. From the right side, I think mine are pretty discreet. There's one there, there's one there. I wouldn't want to make it longer or wider or flashier. Like, this is enough. Now, one last thing we need to do before we say the front is finally complete is do the top stitching here on this crotch curve. So you can see I've only got the edge stitching, but I need to do the second row at 1/4 inch. So I'll grab my presser foot and just do that little bit right now. Okay, I don't want to back tack there. I think that's going to look awful, so I'm going to knot it to the back. Just push that back right there. If you have somewhere practical where you have your hand needles, just always have a huge one because it makes things like this so much easier. You don't need to struggle with anything because it's a huge needle and the thread goes right through. And then you can push this back without much effort, you know. I would rather have a little knot at the back there than a bunch of back tacking there. So I said I was going to insert an excerpt of how you can transform your jean pattern into have this technique if it doesn't have it. That means that your front is just straight up and down at the crotch. It doesn't have this extended facing. So you can add that yourself. So let's just pull that little bit out of a video I made last year. Did more for skirts and not jeans. And let's just pop it in here so you know. And next time you see a jean that doesn't have this technique, you can create that extension of the facing yourself and then sew it in this way and you'll be sweet. This can be the center front of any skirt or any pant. It doesn't matter what seam allowance you're using. Just make sure you draw the seam allowance of the pattern that you're using. It could be 3/8, it could be a 1/2 inch, it could be 5/8. It doesn't really matter what it is, just draw it on there. And now on a separate piece of paper, I've created a template that will be added onto here so we can have an integrated facing here instead of having separate pattern pieces to construct the zipper. And it just makes everything so much faster. So I have my template here. The red line that you see there is what is going to be placed on top of the seam allowance line that we have underneath. I can see through my white paper here. You can see the line there. That is where I'm going to align this right there. And then you can use this template onto any pattern you have. It doesn't matter what seam allowance it has. Just align that red line onto the seam allowance line that you have underneath of your pattern, whatever seam allowance it could be. Now from this red line over here, I drew a line that is 1 3/4 of an inch wide. So that's the width right there, 1 3/4. And now from the top down to that red line, that is where we're going to sew up to. It really depends on the length of your zipper and your preference. I have these, for example, this one's longer than the other one. I tend to favor shorter zippers, just personal preference. I am going to be sewing something that needs a black zipper, so I'm going to take these measurements. So if I place this zipper right here, you can see that my red mark is matching right under this zipper stop, and in my case this is from the top here to here 6.5 inches. Then I've gone ahead and added a further 3/4 of an inch. So the total length from here to there is 7.25. But you know, you can make this longer. If I wanted to use this zipper, for example, I would leave the zipper stop a little below because we need seam allowance to put on the waistband and things. You can see that the zipper stop finishes below this. So I would just extend this and make it longer, bring this down, do the red line just under the stop, and then do the curve a little lower than this. So this is just an example. You can customize to the zipper that you have what length this facing could have for you. This is what's going to work for me. From the top down, 6.5 inches, and then an extra 3/4. And then I just did this little curve with a ruler. One of these edges here helped me make this curve right there so that it's nice and neat. And this is going to be my template that I'm going to use for anything that I want. So I'm just going to cut out this curve, leave a little excess here, and cut at the top. I'm going to keep this in a safe place and I can use it over and over. Just aligning that red line on top of the seam allowance line or the seam line right there. All I would do to cut my pattern piece now is just pin this on, and now this would be my front piece and it would have this included like that. Really easy. This little notch is something that you would want to mark on your fabric, and also it's optional depending on how lightweight your fabric is. You would want to interface this area here. So you would need to cut with this shape some interfacing to fuse onto these integrated facings right here. If I was working with a heavyweight denim or something just already really structured like a cotton twill or something, I might not interface this. It is going to be a decision I make based on the fabric choice. But if it's a linen, I would want to interface. If it's a lighter cotton or a chambray, a light denim, I probably would want to interface this area. Now the other pattern piece that we need to make is the shield, and it's extremely easy because you use the same piece that we've created there. All I did here was copy it, the exact same, and on this shorter edge, not the longer edge, I put it on the fold on the paper, so I have this right there. So basically just take a paper, fold it in half, put it there on the edge, the fold, and trace this out, and you're gonna have your shield. You just need to cut out one of these pieces. And that's it. And I'm going to show you how you can do this on pants also, because this is going to work on pants and it's also going to work on a skirt. I've also drawn the seam allowance here for this crotch curve, and I'm going to do the exact same thing I did with my skirt. I'm going to take my template and place that red line right on top of that seam line right there and just pin it in place. And then this would be my front pattern piece for these pants. Same as I did with the skirt right there. It would just be an extended piece. Both of the pattern pieces for the front would already have this piece of fabric there, and then this would be the area that you would need to interface. So that's all. It's really, really simple. You can create one of these in a couple of minutes. But just as an extra, if you're working with a crotch curve, just be careful that your zipper is not too long, that it doesn't compromise this curve here. I like to keep zippers just in this straight edge and not go off into this curve. So for a pant, I wouldn't really want to use a zipper longer than this. I think this is the maximum length I would want to use. It's different with a skirt because the seam just goes straight down, so you could have a longer zipper if you really wanted. Now this is not the only content I've created around sewing jeans. In the next video you'll see I'm going to show you how to sew jeans, and I've compiled all my jean sewing footage from over the years, and you'll get a type of sew along but not of a specific pattern, because you'll see that the steps are general for any pant. So if you want to sew any jean, this video I'm creating for you is going to be really helpful. It's going to walk you through all the steps with all my little secrets sprinkled in there and everything I do to get amazing jeans. The video that's coming has taken me days and days and days and days. My gosh, I'm not skimping on quality. I want it to be amazing. Make sure you subscribe, turn on your notifications, because in the next few days you're going to have a bit of a jean explosion here on the channel, and I'm really excited to share. That's all from me today, and have fun. Get ready to sew some jeans. If you haven't made your own, it's so satisfying, so empowering. You can get them to fit just the way you want them, and it's amazing. It's an amazing achievement, and yeah, I'm really happy when I get to sew jeans. Really fun. See you soon. Bye.